This is an Acacia victoria. It's prickly bottom. They're very common in the arid zone, but they don't really live that long, maybe 20 or 30 years. This one has died some time ago, but there's a couple of recruits or new resprouts coming up here. The seeds are actually dispersed by ants. They have this little lipid-rich structure on the seed called an aril or an elizome. So they're the quintessential arid zone plant. They come, they live for a little while, and then they die. Down here we've got what's called a kangaroo hip hole. Kangaroos like to shelter from the heat during the middle of the day, and they dig in the soil, generally underneath shrubs, but sometimes they also do it in the open. They search for cooler soil where they can rest. We've done a lot of work on hip holes, and what we've found is that the soil beneath hip holes is generally more carbon, more nitrogen. So in effect, these kangaroos are helping to sustain and produce healthy, functional soils. These foot slopes here coming out of the rain can carry a lot of water when it rains. But there's been quite a bit of erosion here and subsequent sedimentation. After all, this area did receive about 40 millimetres of rainfall a couple of weeks ago. Wow, this is pretty amazing. We're in Fowler's Creek at Fowler's Gap, and this is a classic example of boom and bust. So normally in dry times, there are no grasses growing here, but we've had probably 50 to 100 millimetres of rainfall here. We've had a lot of water washing down the creek, and we've got this huge germination event of these perennial grasses. This is mostly buffel grass, and it's not normally found this dense. This is pretty amazing.
Camera rolling.
So one of the interesting things that happens when you carry out vegetation surveys is that even though you find plants within the surveys along a transect or in a quadrant, that traveling around from one place to another, sometimes you come across plants that are maybe in other habitats, but for other reasons are not in the survey. And so we happened to come to this spot yesterday for lunch on our way from one survey to another, and I got out of the car and looked at a couple of plants, picked one, took it back. When I got it back, I gave a quick look to it and looked it up, and it was listed in the online flora of New South Wales as being extinct in New South Wales and only having a couple of collections. So we've come back to try to find more of it, and it's this plant here. This plant here is called Atriplex acuta. The distinctive thing in the genus in Atriplex, they all have very distinctively shaped fruit, and in this case the fruit's got what are known as two bracts, the larger outer coverings, and then it's got these little things growing at the bottom, these appendages, and that fruit shape is unique to that species. I'm not going to pick it because I don't want to pick any more of it and damage the population, but we've found about 20 plants just in about from here to 20 metres away here, and some more scattered up further towards the car. And I collected a couple of pieces from one plant yesterday and another two from one here today. And I'll send those pieces off to the National Herbarium in New South Wales and the National Herbarium in Canberra as records of the updated presence of the plant in this landscape. Don't really know. This habitat, it seems to be found on this bank that's further back from the creek, in possibly an area that may have more sandy soil and is limited by soil and moisture availability to this narrow band along the creek. It could occur in other places further up, further north, further south. It has, we found out, been found in 2022 up in Sturt National Park, so it could occur more widely. But it's an interesting find, and it's really amazing when you pick something up and you find out that when you go to read that it said it's been officially classified as extinct in the state. So we think it's a great find for Fowler's Gap and UNSW and the state.